The soft glow of chandeliers bathed the dining room of the Juniper House in golden elegance, each crystal prism catching flickers of laughter and the clink of silver against porcelain. Beneath the refined murmur of conversation, you could almost mistake the air for peaceful, but that peace was a thin veneer. I, Celeste Hawthorne, stood across from my husband of 28 years, Victor, as he raised his champagne flute to toast what everyone assumed would be our daughter's brightest moment yet. Isla, radiant in her graduation gown, still wore her cap like a crown, tilted, playful, full of promise. Her eyes, lit with hope, searched ours for shared joy. But what followed wasn't celebration. Victor's words, sharp and cold as a shard of glass, cut through the air with surgical cruelty. I've decided to start a new life without you. The atmosphere collapsed into stunned silence. It was as if someone had pulled the pin from a grenade and tossed it into the heart of our carefully orchestrated evening. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Forks hovered in mid-air. Dozens of faces, framed by candlelight and confusion, turned to me, not in judgment, but in horrified anticipation. This was the moment they expected me to unravel. But I didn't. I smiled. Just enough to unnerve him. "Thank you for your honesty," I replied, my voice calm, steady, the kind of calm that storms fear. Then, with deliberate grace, I placed a sealed, cream-colored envelope beside his plate, an elegant grenade of my own. A hush followed, like the room was collectively holding its breath. I leaned toward Isla and took her hand, still trembling in the sudden chaos. "I am so proud of you, darling," I whispered. "This day is still yours. Imagine watching your world split open at the very table where you once celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, first words. And yet, walking away not in defeat, but in clarity. That's what I did." I stood, smoothed the creases from my dress, and addressed the room not as a betrayed wife, but as a woman reclaiming her narrative. "Please enjoy your meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." Then I turned and walked out, each step shedding the weight of years of compromise. The heavy restaurant door closed behind me with a satisfying finality. And when I stepped into the thick Valemont summer heat, it didn't suffocate me. It welcomed me. The sun felt different on my skin, like I had peeled off someone else's life and stepped back into my own. For the first time in years, I could breathe, not the shallow breath of survival, but the deep, grounding breath of freedom. Back at home, a stately colonial nestled on Eldercrest Lane, its white shutters and rose brick facade once symbols of permanence, I settled into the quiet I had prepared for. This house, now echoing with a different kind of silence, had witnessed every chapter of our so-called life together. But tonight, it would bear witness to the unveiling. I opened the drawer of my desk, where months of meticulous planning waited. Bank statements with discreet transfers Victor thought I wouldn't notice. Property listings marked with beachfront dreams he was supposed to share with me. Text messages, still saved in his phone, dripping with deceit, one thread even discussing the timing of his liberation, scheduled just after Isla's graduation. Every file was labeled, cross-referenced, time-stamped like pieces of a puzzle I had solved in painful silence. Victor had been staging his grand exit like a man auditioning for sympathy. What he didn't realize was, I had already built the stage, scripted the ending, and rehearsed my lines. When he walked through the front door, the polished confidence he wore so well was gone. Disheveled. Panicked. Clutching the envelope I'd left behind like it was a live wire. His voice cracked with accusation, ambush, betrayal, poor timing. But I didn't flinch. With the calm of someone who has already grieved and grown beyond it, I reminded him of the fidelity clause in our prenuptial agreement, the one he had insisted on back when I brought family money into the marriage. Irony is a cruel but satisfying friend. His face, always so controlled, began to unravel as I tapped play on my phone. His own voice filled the room, smug, entitled, plodding. The color drained from his cheeks like someone had opened a trapdoor beneath him. It was his own signature, years ago, that became the noose he'd tied. People say the truth will set you free, but first, it may burn everything to the ground. Fortunately, I had already learned how to walk through fire. Our friends? They weren't fooled by Victor's carefully cultivated narrative. They'd seen enough. Some had suspected. Others, like Dr. Helena Miles, my sister, my anchor, had already known. She greeted me with open arms and a deep, crimson glass of wine. No words at first, just that familiar look between two women who've seen a storm coming and decided to face it head-on. Later, Isla arrived, still wearing her graduation gown, now streaked with mascara and confusion. Her steps were hesitant, but her presence was unshakable. When I told her the full story, she listened, eyes wide, lips parted, fists clenched. I could see the heartbreak behind her composure. But when I finished, she didn't crumble. She rose. The tears she shed weren't the kind that shatter, they were the kind that shape. And when she looked up at me, her chin slightly lifted, I saw it, strength, not in spite of the pain, but because of it.